You're listening to episode 72 of Lifestyle Locker Radio with David Friedman.
We can't just rely on the scientific studies out there because, as you know, those change sometimes weekly. Plus, many of them are biased, and I spell that B-U-Y-A-S-E-D, meaning they're bought and paid for.
Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Hand, and welcome to the Lifestyle Locker Radio, where we dive into what makes an awesome lifestyle. From relationships to money mindset, nutrition to fitness, emotional health to peak performance, we bring you on an amazing journey to unleashing your human potential. So here's a little bit about our guest today. Dr. David Friedman is a #1 best-selling author, a naturopathic physician, clinical nutritionist, chiropractic neurologist, board-certified alternative medicine practitioner, and board-certified in integrative medicine. His patients include many of today's top celebrities and movie stars, many who fly across the country to see him. He's been featured in numerous national magazines, including U.S. News & World Report, Better Nutrition, Healthy Living, and Reader's Digest, just to name a few, and he's been on a pretty awesome podcast called Lifestyle Locker Radio, which you're listening to now. As a syndicated television health expert and radio talk show host, he shared his message of good health to millions each week, incorporating entertainment, shock value, and solutions to everyday health and wellness issues. He's the author of Food Sanity, How to Eat in a World of Fads and Fiction. So here is Dr. David Friedman. Everybody, in the locker room today, we have Dr. David Friedman, the author of Food Sanity, How to Eat in a World of Fads and Fiction. So welcome, David.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Josh. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here because going through the beginnings of your book, I was laughing as I was out loud while I was reading because I'm like, wow, this guy is talking my language. I've read a lot of the books that you mentioned in the beginning, and I've tried a lot of the different, if you will, fads or the diets or the food changes as I've gone through, my adult life. And you kind of really hit home when you start to break down a lot of these pieces of what really is fad and what is real.
Right. And that was kind of the concept. I'm like you. We interview guests, and they kind of leave us more confused than they do giving us answers.
This is true. So give us a little back. Give us a little bit of your story. What led you to even wanting to do some of this research and creating a book, which I know is not an easy thing to do. I think, pre-call you said, many, many, many years of doing this before this book had to show up. But give us your backstory so we can kind of lead into the book.
Well, I actually wrote Food Sanity. It was after 18 years of frustration that I endured as a syndicated TV and radio health expert. I've interviewed hundreds of scientists, doctors, best-selling authors, and my goal was, Josh, is to share information to help my audience reach their optimal health. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. Instead, every guest would contradict the previous expert, leaving everybody, including me, more and more confused.
True.
Like you've interviewed the vegan, the paleo, the Mediterranean, the gluten-free, the low-carb diet advocates. The opinions are as different as night and day. Oatmeal used to help balance blood sugar and lower cholesterol. Now guess what we're told? Avoid grains because they spike our blood sugar and raise our cholesterol. And I remember the days coffee used to be considered the most unhealthy thing you can drink. Well, today we're told it helps prevent disease. Eggs used to cause high cholesterol. Guess what? Now research shows they contain lecithin, which helps lower cholesterol. So growing frustrated with all the conflicting opinions, I wrote Food Sanity. It really just breaks through all the facts, fads, and fiction and finally answers the big question, what the heck are we supposed to eat?
Yeah, that is so cool. So, going over your bio, you have a lot of stuff. You're a busy guy. This is crazy. Naturopathic medicine, dietetic association, your, holistic health association, a chiropractor. When do you find time to do all this stuff, man?
The word time has the word I in it and the word me. So you just gotta make it. The word time right there says it all. And, I just don't sit around and watch movies and do a lot of leisure stuff. I'm just for productive. I'm an A-type. So I want to make a difference. When I die, I want to be able to say, hey, I made a difference in the world. Not I watched so many movies or sat on the back deck and watching the sunset. That's good for some. Not saying that's bad. That's just not how I'm wired.
Very cool. Very cool. It's an inspiring thing, because making change in this world doesn't happen by sitting on the couch.
Exactly.
So, give us an idea, because the, Food Sanity, how is this book different than, I don't want to start throwing names out there, but how is it different than these other kind of, all these experts and these gurus are saying, like, this is the way of the force, and
right.
How is it going to be different? Is there a diet plan in it? Is there more of a question and answer and let people kind of make their own decision?
Well, basically in Food Sanity, I do something a lot different that you don't see in other books. I use a common sense meets common science approach to figuring out the culinary conundrum. Unfortunately, we can't just rely on the scientific studies out there because, as you know, those change sometimes weekly. Plus, many of them are biased, and I spell that BUYASED, meaning they're bought and paid for. So in the book, I show the reader how to avoid these paid-for, unreliable scientific studies and tap into their instincts. That's another part of it. Trust their gut instead of relying on what they hear in the media. And then we explore the biology of the body and see if we're designed to eat it. So, Josh, when you combine these three things, science, instincts, and biology, you basically have a foolproof blueprint that shows you what you should and shouldn't eat. So it's like a tricycle. Without three wheels, it can't function. My three-wheel process is what other diet books are missing. So in Food Sanity, I don't use it's my way or the highway approach. Instead, I help the reader make up their own minds on the best way to eat, lose weight, and prevent disease. And Josh, if they can make up their own minds, they own it, they live it, it's part of their lifestyle. If it's somebody preaching to them, eat this, avoid that, and I know you love this, but you'll never have it again, they're going to go off the diet.
Yeah. So I want to touch on a couple of topics that are pretty popular with a lot of our listeners and in the conversations that we have, and one is GMO foods.
Right.
All right. This is a big one. Our government doesn't really. I don't know. It's so weird that they're supposedly not healthy for you, right? But the government won't really hide. Let them be properly labeled. Why is that?
Well, when people eating GMO foods, they're basically ingesting some things that weren't found in nature. One is the glyphosate, which is part of the genetically engineered Roundup ready crops. And when you eat this, it ends up in your colon where it potentially can destroy some of the good bacteria in your gut. This can compromise your immune system, leave you more prone to diseases. And there's been some health risks. Of course, they say, oh, well, that was in animal studies. It's funny how they'll poo-poo that, but other studies, their animal studies, they lift that up as being the word.
Yeah.
So they have found infertility, accelerated aging, dysfunction of the liver, kidney, spleen, and so forth. So the key is, I think most experts agree, it's good to kind of stay away from those. And luckily, we're going to have some legislation passed. It's already in the workings in July, where you'll have more labels telling you the truth or not. But for now, what you can do, a little trick is, you look at the PLU code, which is the price lookup code on your produce.
That's what I was going to ask. How do we find it?
If it starts with an 8, it's GMO. Avoid it. If it starts with a 9, it's organic. That's what you want to gravitate towards. So an easy way I remember it is the 8 isn't great, but the 9 is fine.
8 isn't great. Love it.
8 is fine. And if it's got four digits, it's conventionally grown. So if it's 5 digits beginning with an 8, GMO. If it begins with a 9, it's organic. And it's a little cheat sheet. You can look on the back. And if you don't see that, other thing to look for is you can look for the USDA certified organic or the non-GMO project label. They're really good. So that's kind of our basis now until we get a little bit more legislation where we're going to have labels that are mandated, and that's coming soon. So I think the world is speaking. Congress has passed that. So I got to tell you an interesting story, Josh. It's so exciting to see people knowing what a GMO is. About 3-4 years ago, there was a store open up called Trader Joe's. It's and the line was wrapped around the block, and the guy in front of me asked the cashier, he says, I don't get it. Why is this line here? What's the draw? And the cashier looked at him and said, well, for one, we don't sell GMOs. And he looked at her and he said, why would I buy a car from you guys?
That's too
funny. I'm glad we've advanced. So now I think people, fast forward 3 years later, we seem to know, and most people know now what a GMO is.
Yeah, I think the new labeling is going to be like a picture of an alien on the food that's that's genetically modified. It's not even going to be a number. It's like, okay, this is alien to the human body, and this is made for the human body, which is crazy. And something else, I take care of a lot of athletes in my practice, and a lot of people that are listening. A lot of are athletic in nature. They have these kind of very active lifestyles, and a common theme, and I see this with T-shirts at the gym. It's like bacon, 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 bacon. So talking about pork. In your book, you mentioned pigs don't sweat. Why is that important?
That's so important because, it's a misnomer. People always say, you're sweating like a pig. Well, that's not possible because pigs don't sweat. They actually couldn't be further from the truth. And what that does, and that's why they wallow in the mud because they're always hot. They don't sweat. So they're always trying to keep moist. And that's the reason they go in water or mud if it's available. Problem with that is it can lead to toxins that remain inside their body and ultimately ingested by humans that eat them. In fact, some pigs' outer fat layer is so thick and filled with toxins, if a rattlesnake bites a pig, the snake is more likely to die than the pig.
No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So knowing that, first, I'm not a big fan of eating pork, but if it's something that you choose to eat, go for the leanest, less fattening, and healthiest option, which is the pork loin. The center portion sold as the center loin is a good option, with the second choice being the tenderloin. And make sure it's grass-fed and free range. But what you're doing, Josh, is you're going away from that fat layer. You're going to the center, and it keeps you away from the toxins. If you're a ham fan and you want to keep it part of your diet, eat it baked. And prior to baking your ham, make linear slices on the meat. Place it on like a meat rack, underneath it. And what that does is it allows the excess fat to drip away. You don't
drain,
drain the fat. Stay away from smoked pork. Manufacturers use an artificial smoke flavoring called liquid smoke, which may have adverse health effects on the liver and kidneys. And cured pork, of course, that's loaded with sodium. 50% of the recommended sodium intake for an entire day you can get just on one single serving of cured pork. And sausage is the number one worst health offender when you're talking about pork. It's been linked to leukemia, pancreatic cancer, colon cancer. There was actually a 7-year study published in the Journal of National Cancer Institute showed people ages 45 to 75 that eat the most processed meat have a 68% higher rate of colon and pancreatic cancer. And number one on that processed meat is sausage, the biggest public enemy, number one.
68% increase. That is insane. That's insanity. Holy crap.
Not only insane, there's so many more that I show in the book. And it's like, how can you deny? How can you still put your head in the sand and not think this stuff is making you sick?
Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm excited here.
I see these books, and there's one, I won't name the name, and you can see a tweet I wrote on it, that it's a big thing of bakes called the bacon and butter diet, and it has bacon all over it. I'm like, what have we turned into? I know you love it. I know it tastes good, but to have that as part of a healthy regimen, I'm sorry. You can't show me any studies that show me bacon is good for you.
So you mean, the Atkins style eating pork rinds every day is probably not a good idea?
No, not the...
Okay, got it. So that when you talk about having the toxins in the fat, that's just pumping it into the system directly. And I'm sure when it hits the human fat and it stays in our fat as well, come on, how could that be good?
And one thing interesting, when I was studying the pork section, the DNA is very similar to pigs as humans, and that's why we can use pig parts in our body and not repel it, for heart valves.
Oh, wow, okay.
We can't use other animals, but we can use pig because our DNA is similar. So knowing that, actually, and this is something that'll stick in your mind, they've actually asked cannibals what humans taste like, and they said the closest thing they taste like is pork. So human actually tastes like pork. It's that. So, throw that for what it's worth, but it's interesting that's what cannibals say.
Wow, I guess if I'm stuck on an island somewhere with a bunch of people for a long period of time, oh my God. No, okay, I'm just kidding. But, wow. Oh man, this is the pork thing. Holy, this is blowing my mind right now. I like bacon, but I think you've really just kind of, I'm not a pork rind guy and I don't eat bacon regularly, but my goodness, holy crap.
Like I said, in the book, it's not at all or nothing. I do explain the pork, and then I say, hey, if you want to eat it, here's what to look for. If you want to eat the beef, here's what in other words, it's not a my way or the highway.
Got it.
Science on both sides. And it's not one of those slap you over the head, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. But, I think after you read the pork chapter, I don't think you're going to be reaching for the bacon much. But if you do, I show you certain, alternatives and what to look for.
Yeah. It's not a staple for me in particular. It's kind of like a once in a blue moon type of thing. But it's got to be organic. It's got to be nitrate free and all that stuff. So
yeah, and the occasional is the key. A lot of people have it, 4 or 5 times a week for breakfast, and then they sometimes at lunch on their BLTs. There's a point of going overboard, and I know they love the taste, but there's other things that taste good that are better for you.
Yeah, exactly. So just kind of to tag team on that, in your book, you have a term that you use, and it's not really discussed in many other nutrition style books. It's the word obscenogens.
Obesity.
Yeah. Can you kind of touch base on obscenogens? What are they? How do we find them and make sure we avoid these things?
Yeah, there's a 3-step program for losing weight in my book, and number 3 is obesogens, and it's really one of the big reasons people struggle with weight. And these are chemicals that take control of your metabolic systems, causing weight gain. They come from compounds found in certain plastics. They're in pesticides and fungicides. They're in hormones that are injected into our livestock. And what it is, these obesogens, they increase appetite. They disrupt normal development of lipid metabolism, which can lead to obesity. They also create an imbalance of hormones like growth hormone, insulin, cortisol, all important stuff. And the average person, Josh, is exposed to over 100 obesogens every day. They've been correlated with not just obesity, it's heart disease, diabetes, high cholesterol. And in the book, I share the most common obesogens and how to avoid them. But one of the big ones is called bisphenol A, BPA. It's a synthetic estrogen primarily used to harden plastics. It's been shown to increase weight gain, insulin resistance, and been even linked to cancer. BPA is found in plastic food and beverage containers like canned foods and bottle tops. But here's a key that people don't realize, Josh, and this is interesting. The chemical is also found in thermal paper items like receipts, events, cinema tickets, ATM, credit card receipts, airline tickets. So if you put one of these receipts in your wallet, it makes contact with your money, and this causes BPA contamination on your currency. And something so interesting, Josh, we're talking about another grocery store story. I was standing behind somebody who was buying everything organic, GMO free. I mean, everything healthy. This guy was a health nut. The lady hands him his receipt after buying all these healthy foods. He puts it in his mouth to hold it while he's getting his wallet and his stuff in his pocket. Then he takes it out of his mouth, touches it, puts his receipt in his pocket. He just contaminated his mouth and his fingers with BPA, which is a toxin to the body, and it defeats his whole great shopping spree.
Oh, wow. That's pretty wild that it's, so what's the recommendation? We go shopping, email me the receipt type of thing?
No, what you do is you say, please put it in the bag. And they'll toss it in the bag, and then when you get home, if you do touch it, wash your hands. Just don't put it in your hands, because if you touch your eyes, your mouth, you poison yourself. And, and this stuff is also in plastic containers. People go get these bottled water, and they leave it in their car, and that heat seeps that chemical into the water they're drinking. This is an obesogen. And I don't care how great you eat, how much you exercise, how great you sleep. If you're exposed to these chemicals, it's going to keep you from getting thin, and it's going to fight your diet regimen. It's just so important, and it's really overlooked. And, there's a few of them that they let it list in there, pesticides, pharmaceutical drugs are one. High fructose corn syrup is a real big one that actually that allows the average soda to go from 8 ounces to 20 ounces at no additional cost because of the subsidy. So they don't use sugar, they use fructose corn syrup because it's cheaper. You get more product for less money. So that's why these manufacturers love it so much, because of the government subsidies. So high fructose corn syrup is a big cause of obesity. It's an obesogen. It makes you fat.
This is absolutely wild. So speaking about things that make people fat, I want to touch on another subject, because you mentioned earlier, I can't remember the term you used, but the industry is kind of leading the science and leading the the false research, if you will. I know my opinion on milk and dairy products. What's your gist on it? You've done the research.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, people say of all the food groups, what one food group is public enemy number one, definitely would be milk. It's dairy. And despite the decades of government and industry propaganda about the health benefits of dairy products, so much unbiased science proves that cow's milk is not healthy for humans. And contrary to all those milk mustache ads, they do a great job of convincing everybody, but milk doesn't build strong bones. In fact, research shows milk is a contributing factor to the cause of brittle bones. And what's sad, Josh, is we're taught as children, if we want to grow up big and strong, we need to drink milk. Yet children that drink milk get more chronic ear infections, have more allergies, are more likely to be overweight, and they're at greater risk of diabetes. And when I bring up the milk, Josh, the first thing I hear people say is, well, what are you talking about? How are we supposed to get calcium? People drink milk for the calcium content for strong bones, but before that milk goes to the grocery store, it's pasteurized, meaning it's exposed to extreme heat. Now, what this does is the heat process, it's required to destroy bacteria, but it also renders a lot of the milk's calcium content insoluble. It's destroyed during the manufacturing process. But people say, all right, well, what if I had raw unpasteurized milk? Would that work? Well, it still wouldn't give you enough magnesium needed for your body to absorb the calcium. You see, calcium to magnesium ratio in cow's milk is 9-1. That's 90% calcium, 10% magnesium. Most experts recommend having a ratio of 2 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium. And now they're saying 1-to-1 is better, 50-50. Guess where you get a 50-50 ratio of the perfect balanced calcium and magnesium? Plant-based foods like almonds, squash, sesame seeds, and spinach offer almost a perfect 1-to-1 ratio of calcium to magnesium. So these ratios are the bone-building partners that actually do their job. Cow's milk, pasteurized or not a good source of calcium, and not because it doesn't have the mixture of magnesium. It does not help build strong bones. And I always ask people, John, where do cows get their needed calcium from? Plants. They don't drink milk. I'll go a step further. Where do gorillas get their calcium for strong bones? Obviously, no one's going to disagree that gorillas don't have strong bones, right? They got strong bones.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
Do they drink milk? They get it from plant foods. Let's go a step further, Josh. Let's go to the biggest, strongest animal on the planet, known as an elephant. Where does an elephant get his calcium for strong bones?
Yeah.
Yes. They don't drink milk. So it's like common sense meets science. That's the whole book analogy. It's kind of like I throw the science in there and then I say, all right, let's do instincts and let's talk about biology. And when you're done with each chapter, it just people get it.
Yeah.
And it's not me preaching. It's me just sharing info and letting you figure it out.
So you're saying Popeye was right, even though it was canned spinach. If he didn't do canned spinach, he would have been right.
Popeye was right. And, another thing I'll share, so they say, all right, well, if the calcium is important. They say, how do I get calcium? And I share that. Then they say, well, what about protein? Milk gives us protein. Well, a major reason why cow's milk is bad for us is the protein. It's called casein. Casein from cow's milk is also used to make glue to hold together wood. Think of the cow logo on Elmer's glue. There's a reason, folks, there's a cow on that label. It's made from casein, and it's also a polymer used to make plastics. So if you were to swallow glue, your body would consider it an invasion and attack it. When you ingest casein, a glue-like substance that's in milk, your body attacks it and produces histamines, which causes mucus production, can lead to bronchitis, allergies, asthma, sinus ear infections, irritable bowel, you name it. I could go on for a half hour giving some examples, but so many studies, including data from the World Health Organization, have linked consumption of casein with increased risk of heart disease, high cholesterol, and type 1 diabetes. So the one thing I tell people to keep in mind is casein is what makes a 100-pound baby calf grow into a 2,000-pound cow. The average human baby weighs less than 8 pounds and grows to a 170-pound adult. So let's go back with common sense. Here's a question. Would you use rocket fuel in a gas tank of your moped? No. Why would you put gargantuan-sized cow fuel inside a human body? It makes sense. So there's your common sense quote. So you throw the science in there. So that debunks the protein need. It debunks the calcium that you don't get from it. So there's no reason to drink it. There's so many great alternatives. Cashew milk, almond milk, hemp milk, coconut milk. We don't need cow's milk anymore. Now, back 10, 15 years ago, there weren't many options. But now we've got plenty.
Yeah, it's funny. My dad, I guess, did a good job when we were kids. He was a chiropractor as well, or is a chiropractor. And he used to call it, because we see all these commercials as kids. And he goes, well, why do you want putrefied cow pus? And I mean, that was it. Like, we never had milk in our house. I mean, it was. And
you use the word pus, and there is pus cells in milk. It's pus, and that's why it's white.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that, but he just didn't want us drinking it because he knew it was mother's milk for an animal made to make a small cow, like you said, a big cow.
Exactly. And you know what? And let's go back with instincts, common sense. If we didn't have that glass of milk and you didn't reach for it in your refrigerator, where would you get milk? You'd literally, if you went 100, 200 years ago, what would you have to do? You'd have to lay on the dirty ground, sucking from the pus-filled, fly-infested nipples of a cow to get your milk. Now, picture that. Is that what we were supposed to do? No. And then think of any other adult in the world that drinks milk from any species. It doesn't happen. Adults aren't supposed to drink milk of any kind. We're supposed to drink milk when we're babies, infants, from our like mother. So milk's good, but it has to be from our own species, not from another animal. It makes no sense. It's a hormone that's designed to fatten cows up. Why would you want that in your body? It's fattening you up. It's inflaming your insides. It just makes no sense. And trust me, I looked for studies, Josh, to find if there was, and I'm right on the fence to see if there was any good studies out there on milk. The only good studies out there were funded by the American Dairy Association.
Yeah, I mean the machine of like I joke and I call it the Food and Drug Administration. It's like, okay, we got crappy food, they put you on drugs, and you give more, and it's just like this evil cycle that just keeps going. It's scary. But you also mentioned something that's interesting because I take vitamins, I take supplements myself, and in the book you talk about how some of these vitamins can actually contribute to disease versus be preventative for disease.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right?
It's crazy. What's even crazier is people choose vitamin supplements in lieu of taking drugs, and some individuals actually take them to boycott giving their money to Big Pharma. A lot of them are motivated to do that. And this may come as a surprise to a lot of you, but the pharmaceutical industry owns all of the major vitamin companies on the market. Bayer Healthcare of the aspirin fame makes one a day in Flintstone chewables. Theragram M is manufactured by Bristol Myers Squibb. Centrum, the giant of the vitamin industry, guess who that's owned by? The largest pharmaceutical company in the world, Pfizer. Just like the drugs they make, there is nothing natural in these vitamin supplements. So in Food Sanity, I share how many of these vitamins that are created, not naturally, but with toxic chemicals that are also used to make drugs like methanol, benzene, petroleum esters, which are used to make antibiotics. Then you've got the 2N-acetate acid, which is also used to make antimicrobial, antifungal medications. See, the term natural that you see in vitamins is overused in the dietary industry because it's not defined by the government. So this gives companies free rein to create inferior, sometimes unhealthy supplements. So I believe it's possible to get the nutrition you need from whole foods. But if you choose supplements, then you want to choose a whole food supplements. And in my book, I have the ABCs, which is absorption, balance, and certification, where you can go through that list and find out the perfect supplement. So there are ways to get that. But in general, and as you mentioned, the dangers, if you look at synthetic, that's man-made. In 2008, the Journal of Cancer Epidemiology, Biomarkers and Prevention found that men with high levels of calcium in their blood are more likely to die of prostate cancer. And they recommend men shouldn't take calcium supplements. And 2 years later, the British Medical Journal published a comprehensive study that showed calcium supplements increase the risk of heart attacks by 30%. So the supplement that people are taking supposedly to strengthen bones could be increasing your having a heart attack and dying of prostate cancer. And then vitamin E, I saw research from Johns Hopkins showing that it increases your risk of dying, not from megadoses. We're talking 400 international units, which is what you usually see in vitamin supplements. And then vitamin C, that's the worst one, also known as ascorbic acid. Mount Sinai School of Medicine showed that taking 500 milligrams per day of vitamin C could cause genetic damage to your genes and offspring. Now, let me reiterate. They didn't say vitamin C is bad, but rather ascorbic acid, which is synthetic vitamin C made in laboratories by chemists. And Josh, in the book, I named the chemicals that are used in vitamin C. It's unbelievable. Benzene, which is used in gasoline.
Yeah.
Tone, which is in nail polish. Perchloric acid, which is used in rocket fuels and explosives, is used in the manufacturing process. Bleach, caustic nickel. I mean, and this is common knowledge. You can Google this. The chemical composition of ascorbic acid. It's not natural, folks. It's not natural. It's created in a lab by chemists. So my belief is we as humans weren't created in a laboratory. Why should our vitamin supplements be?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's crazy. When I speak to my patients and we speak about vitamins, not having your book, years ago, it's like you gotta get Whole Foods. I mean, you gotta stay away from this stuff that you're getting at Walmart because you want to save a few bucks. It's like, it's crap.
Exactly. And, my whole, I'm a naturopath. I should take over 20 pills a day and recommend it to my patients. And what really changed my mind is a patient came in one day after a clogged up septic tank was being repaired. And she told me they found the cause. They pulled out hundreds and hundreds of undigested vitamins with the name still readable. And I looked at her, I said, what? And then I got to thinking, I take a handful of pills. Am I pooping these things out? Am I lying to myself, my patients? And I did some research and I found out that these things are made from rocks and dolomite and oxalate and things that we weren't designed to digest, and chemicals and the outer shellac and gelatin and so many things that inhibit, even if they're natural, sometimes the casings don't allow it to digest. So I really researched on, natural versus synthetic, and it really woke up my eyes to realize that, just because we swallow it doesn't mean it's being used and doesn't mean it's safe.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm getting excited now to dive deeper into your book, and holy moly, this is insane.
The moly is in church. It is a holy moly. Yeah,
Mike. This really is. This is like food insanity with these companies. It's insane.
Yeah. And the ascorbic acid thing. If you look on your sodas and your Pop-Tarts and so forth, you'll see ascorbic acid is added to so many foods, and that's fake vitamin C, and that's the stuff that genetically damages your cells, and that's proven. And so vitamin C is great, but you can't compete with an orange. You got to look for the natural sources. Man has tried their best to make money off of copying nature, but it's always best to go for nature. So if you're looking for vitamin supplements, my key is look for ingredients that say leaf or fruit or extract or plant or stem, seed. When you see that, that's whole food. Look for fruits and vegetables. You can still get your vitamin A's and your D's and your B complexes. There's natural ways. There are companies that make natural organic vitamins that are whole food based. We were designed to eat food. Food heals us. Why not take vitamins that are made from food? If we need to supplement our diet, which is food, why not supplement it with food supplements?
Yeah. I mean, it was, I forgot who told me this, but it was a great little quote, and I'm probably going to screw it up, but it says, if it is made in a plant, don't eat it. If it is a plant, you should eat it.
I love
type
it.
Of thing.
It's a great quote. It's so true.
Yeah. And,
so, and you're talking to a person who used to not know this. I used to take the handful of synthetic pills. I did it, and it's, I started seeing them on x-rays showing up. You probably see them as well. And
yeah.
Orderlies at hospitals have a common term. It's called bedpan bullets. They literally find these undigested vitamins. It's so common they have a name for them. They come right. Yeah, they're called bedpan bullets. And, Yoakum and Rowe, remember that book?
Of course I do. I think I have it somewhere in this
room.
Yoakum
has a picture right in there of undigested vitamins. And I actually talk about that in my book as well. It's right there. It's a classic textbook. So, this stuff, it's not far-fetched. This is legitimate. You don't digest them. And what you do digest, you want to digest them if they're made from chemicals.
Yeah. I remember that's my in our clinic when we were taking x-rays of patients in school, in the student clinic. And that was one of the first patients we had as a group to go over the x-rays. You'd see, because this woman, maybe in her 60s, took calcium like in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. And you could see the different different pills and the different parts of her digestive tract. Oh. It was like these perfectly white. I'm like, what is that? And it's a pill.
Yeah, what's funny is one of the most popular calcium is called oyster shell calcium, and I just have to forget if they have an advertising campaign that tells you should take this. Common sense. Do you think our body is designed to digest oyster shells?
You don't chew them yourself? That's like a normal snack for me on a regular day. I'm like, let me grab one of these shells and chew on it.
Get back to nature, and it's so, but we're just so brainwashed with media and advertising. And that's kind of the thing. We're going back to root. The roots of food. It's whole food, and there's ways to get that. And if you eat right, you really don't need supplements. But I realize people don't, so there's certain ways, and that's why I show the absorption, the balance certifications to look for. One thing is, look for CGMP, which is current good manufacturing practices. Make sure that that certification's on there. It shows that what's actually in the product is on the label. You don't always know, and if it's not saying that, they can put grass in there and get away with it. Also, the United States Pharmacopoeia, USP. If you see that on the label, hey, it means it's been tested, it's been audited, And you can go to USP.org, and you can actually find manufacturers that use those standards. And that's how you can test and check and see if you've got it. And, and look for balance, Josh. The one thing is, if you look at fruits and vegetables, legumes and nuts or other plants, they don't contain massive amounts of vitamins and minerals that all these pills do. You see some of these thousands of milligrams. In nature, it's about balance, not mega doses. It's the best supplement in your diet is just whole food plant-based, and you're not going to see 500 milligrams or 1,000 milligrams. Those numbers change every year. I remember calcium jumped up, jumped down. Who's making these numbers?
Yeah. 50
years ago, did we have a number? What number do you need? That's bogus. You can't create a number because, for example, they say to have 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C. That's the recommendation. And the Linus Pauling did 12,000. But an orange has 30 milligrams of vitamin C. Do you really think we were designed to have 100 oranges a day?
That would be challenging for the bathroom.
That's the point. It's not mega. With an orange, it's plenty in there because it has all the synergistical nutrients that make that vitamin C go farther. If you're dealing with ascorbic acid, the fake vitamin C, you probably have to mega dose because it's fake.
Yeah.
As Elaine from Seinfeld says, fake.
Yeah, no, totally. It's kind of crazy. And I'm just going to transition for 2 seconds because when I was right before chiropractic college, I mean, this cholesterol boom was coming up. And I know this is not about food, but it's just about like how things like propaganda, how crazy it is. It was, I think the number was 300 for cholesterol. By the time I got to chiropractic school, it was 200. By the time I left chiropractic school, the normal was 180. Like who makes these numbers and says what's right for the human body? I'm
with you, and it's the same thing when you're looking at numbers and, you got to get a calculator out to do your calorie counting. And it's like, we don't have to be mathematicians to enjoy health. You just have to get back to the roots. Just eat healthy. Avoid the chemicals, eat less processed foods. And you don't have to worry about being a mathematician and figuring out the latest number.
Yeah. So then this is important because I know a lot of people, I practice in New York City, and a lot of people, they don't work 9 to 5 like they may in the Midwest. I mean, this is like these people are either working from like 6 a.m. till like 10 p.m. type of thing, or with a lunch break in between where they can come and see me. For the person that has this high pace, like high insane lifestyle, which not necessarily is the healthiest thing, but what would you recommend for food? Was they're like, listen, I just got to get something quick.
So you're saying something that's filling that kind of gets them worth.
Yeah, well, give them some new, ideas for getting some kind of healthy, simple nutrition on a regular basis. Because if when they read this book, when they read your book, they're going to go, wait, I got to do all this stuff. But I got like 30 minutes for lunch.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
You can reach for, there's certain snacks you can reach for, like almonds are filling and all that. But if you're asking for a general what to eat, what not to eat, my diet's pretty much easy. I live by the mantra, if it's white, keep it out of sight. That's the diet, folks. Stay away from white foods. And doing this, just that, is going to help your blood sugar balance, increase your energy. It's going to help you sleep better. It's going to help lose those unwanted pounds. And when I say white foods, that's foods that have been processed or refined. That includes milk, flour, rice, pasta, bread, cracker, cereal, anything sweetened with sugar or high fructose corn syrup. Now, there's some exceptions to that rule. You can eat natural, unprocessed white foods like cauliflower, garlic, mushrooms, onions, potatoes, bananas, white fish, white poultry meat. Those are the whites that are okay, but those are natural. All the other white foods contain a high concentration of simple carbohydrates that will make your blood sugar spike and then drop, causing you to overeat and gain weight. So it's that simple. And people say, well, what can I eat? There's all kinds of stuff that you can eat. So instead of, the sugar, you can go with the monk fruit. You can go with stevia. There's still ways to sweeten your dish. And salt, by the way. Salt part of the white? Yes, it is, but it's the processed white salt. You can still have salt, but go with the black. It's called black volcanic Hawaiian salt. It's my favorite. Or pink Himalayan sea salt.
And that's my favorite.
But see, it's not white. It's not processed. And this is so cool, Josh. You ready?
Yeah.
If you eat these salts that haven't been stripped of all the minerals, it satisfies your cells and you're not as hungry. You don't eat as much. If you have white table salt poured on your food, it makes you hungry because it's empty calories. And that's why movie theaters salt their popcorn, because it makes you hungry, makes you go back. You want more soda because you have sweet cravings. It makes you want the jujubes. They know that. Guess who else knows it? Fast food restaurants. That's why they use the white processed table salt. So in other words, the no white diet, Just avoid these stripped away, unnatural sources of white foods. And I'm telling you, and it's easy to do. And in my book, I give recipes for it and show you how to do that. It's an easy diet. And Jot, it's not a fad diet. I've had patients do it for 28 years and still have the weight off. It's not yo-yo.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And I have like your book in front of me here, and I love what Harvey Diamond said about your book. Food Sanity gives us a needed crash course on the poisons, profits, and propaganda of the food industry. And that's in a nutshell, people. That's if you haven't got enough content right now to go run out and get the book, you better listen to it again. Listen to this podcast again because the knowledge is awesome here. So, David, I normally ask for 3 gems. You just gave 1, right? 3 golden nuggets. So, can you give us a couple other things that it doesn't need to be for a fast-paced lifestyle? So, you mentioned, staying away from whites, right? The white foods. I think that's key. That's something we practice in our household as well and in our practice. But can you give us a couple other golden nuggets or simple things that people can do? And I know buy the book can't be that because they're going to do that anyway, but give us a couple.
The most simplest way to lose weight and gain back your health is get a good night's sleep. There's so much research showing how a lack of sleep contributes to obesity. There's actually a study published in the American Journal of Human Biology showed that sleeping less than 6 hours increases a person's body mass index, which is the BMI, and it leads to obesity. Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston analyzed sleep behaviors in completely controlled laboratory environment, and the evidence showed that short or poor quality sleep is linked to an increased risk of obesity. And so the reason, we're so sleep deprived is, I go through that in the book, but it can wreak havoc on our hormones, affect our appetite, metabolism. 2 of the big culprits is ghrelin and leptin. See, ghrelin is the hormone that tells your body to eat. I call it eating like a felon on ghrelin. Eat, and leptin tells your body when it's full. So when you're sleep deprived, you have more ghrelin telling you to eat than you do leptin telling you to stop. And another hormone that raises when you're sleep deprived is cortisol. The body releases this hormone in response to stress. It's a major contributor to fat accumulation in the abdomen. Cortisol also increases blood sugar levels. So you should be getting at least 7 hours of deep restorative sleep per night. And research published in the American Journal of Epidemiology shows women average 6.3 hours of sleep per night, and men only get 5.6 hours. So in my book, Food Sanity, I share why we become so sleep deprived, and I offer tips to achieve that 7 to 8 hours of deep restorative of sleep. So my sleep program is, in a nutshell, 3 things. Avoid the white foods, get 7 hours of deep restorative sleep, and avoid the obesogens. It's those 3. It's like a tricycle. You need all 3 to excel. You can't have one wheel. Most diets are about the food. It's one wheel, Josh. You got to have the 3.
Yeah. Unicycles are very hard.
Those 3, you'll lose weight, and it's so important. And, one of the biggest, I don't want to call him a jerk because we needed him, but the guy who really made it so tough for us to go to sleep is Thomas Edison, who created the light bulb.
Yeah.
And that messed it up for all of us because we were used to when it's dark, we went to sleep. Our body, our clock was used to it. And now we're watching TV. We've got the phones in our faces. We have light bulbs. So we have this light sometimes till 10, 11 o'clock. And then we go to sleep with lights around us with our clocks and our, sometimes we keep our cell phone on and the lights. So one of the things is you want to avoid lights. You want to sleep in a really, really dark room. And that's one of the things that brings us back to our old days, back when we slept through the night. And back then we got 12 hours of deep restorative sleep because we couldn't do anything when it was dark. We didn't have light.
Yeah, that's so true. One of my other guests, actually a couple of them have mentioned sleep, and it's making me look for someone now to interview on sleep. But they said, they were talking about their mother said, if you go to bed before midnight, every hour before midnight equals 2, because you're going to get that longer restorative sleep.
It really is true. And it's interesting. Another thing that blocks you out is sounds. A lot of people, they're light sleepers. I'm one of those. And I kept getting up at 4:30 every morning. I didn't know why. I just get up. It's like, why am I awake? And I just sit there. I could sleep another 2 hours. Well, one day I got up at 4:15, went to the bathroom, I'm laying there. And right at 4:30, I heard my neighbor's truck start to go past me. That's when he was going to work. And the sound of his truck is what woke me up every morning. Put those little foam things in my ear that night. and I woke up at 6:30 when I was supposed to get up. I slept through it. It was like, wow. So sometimes it sounds as well, and I go through that on how to block them out or how to, to get the deep sleep by the darkness and the sound, and then we go a little bit over the, the electronics that messes up the pineal gland, but really is. So one of the easiest things to do, get a good night's sleep. Don't put that phone in front of your face before you go to bed, because that light fools you into thinking it's daytime. You want darkness. You don't want to have bright in your face. How people put that. And there's some good settings on phones now that have the nighttime setting. Click that. That gets rid of that blue light.
Yeah, agreed. And, and we've been recommending people actually put their phone on airplane mode unless it's their only phone and they, have a sick relative or something that needs to get in touch with them. But I started doing that about a week or two ago. I can't remember how long ago, but probably about a week or two. Airplane mode with my bed. It's my only phone I have, but in my alarm clock. So I've been sleeping noticeably different, as crazy as that may sound to some people, but it's helped a lot.
Exactly. And another thing is, to wake up softly. Don't. I hate the word alarm clock, because the word alarm is not something that's positive.
It's startling.
Alarm means startled. Why would you wake up startled? You're in a deep sleep and you got beep, beep, beep. So I have a real gentle, soft guitar. It's a nice flamenco guitar that slowly wakes me up. That's another do, or a soft song, or vibrate. Do something that's softer, and they actually have these lights that mimic bright light, and it goes brighter and brighter and brighter until you wake up.
Yeah, it's so neat.
Yeah, that's a nice way. So I don't like the word alarm. I like to call them opportunity clocks or get up and go clocks, not alarm clocks. Who wants to start your day being alarmed?
Oh, forget it. That's you start that stress response right away. Who the hell needs that?
Yeah.
Goodness. Well, everybody, Dr. David Friedman, dude, this was a fantastic, absolutely fantastic interview. I mean, I think, we may have to do this again at some point. And, when the book is, going around the world in 300 different languages, have another conversation for the impact, because, making these decisions on daily life, because we need to eat is what it comes down to. And you got to make, your food choices, make them sane. Don't make them in an insane way. So I want to thank you. Lifestyle Locker wants to thank you, and we'll talk soon, bud.
Yeah, right. Appreciate you having me, Josh. Thanks for your time.
So everyone at Locker Nation, Dr. David Friedman, what a cool dude. I've changed the way that I eat bacon now, for those of you that are probably wondering. I do actually love bacon, but we've only really done the organic good stuff. I use Applegate and a couple other smaller companies. But if you have not yet, during this podcast, gone onto Amazon and picked up your book, Food Sanity, which I have right here in front of me. It's pretty awesome. It's a cool book. How to Eat in a World of Fads and Fiction. And it's pretty cool. It's got a pretty cool foreword in there by Harvey Diamond, who's actually the author of Fit for Life. So go ahead and get this book. It is going to be an eye-opener for you. It's a great food book. It's just it's like a little Bible, if you will. I'm Jewish, so that's not maybe a Bible, but you know what I mean. It's that kind of food Bible. It's got tons and tons of resources in the back. He's got, just to give you an idea, this is nuts. You ready? Check this out. 714 references. That's right, 714. That's insane. So, get this book, go through it, read it slow. You don't have to race through this whole book, but you can look at all the chapters in the beginning of the book and decide where you want to go. And look, it's really neat. There are a total of, give me a second, there are a total of 12 total chapters in here. And you can learn quite a bit from all of the chapters. So definitely want to get through it. It's actually an easier read than you think, and it may blow your mind what you may learn about food. So, Locker Nation, until next time, make sure you do go ahead and go online and check us out at facebook.com, and all Dr. David Friedman's links will be in the show notes. See you soon. Bye-bye. Lastly, this show is actually brought to you by me, by Lifestyle Locker Radio and Lifestyle Locker. If you have not yet checked out the 30-day Human Potential program, there will be a link in the show notes for that as well. So that's our sponsorship, myself, for this podcast. So if you got value from this, please share with your friends, share with someone you love, share with someone that may need the help. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.